All right, YouTube, once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast talking Auburn football. Go ahead and subscribe to Vernon Speaks Sports. Auburn is a very exciting time for the Auburn Tigers and many college football teams around the country, as tomorrow is signing day. Now, the early signing period has kind of taken away the luster of this particular signing day, but this is really crucial for Auburn because there's still a lot of depth that they want to add. Because if you really listen to a lot of Hugh Freeze's interviews, he talks about, hey, I want to have 16 offensive linemen coming into this program. He was, kind of shocked to where he only had about 7 offensive linemen that were on scholarship, and also mentioned that, in a lot of cases that the quarterback wasn't protected well, as we saw over the last few years. And one of the things that stands out is he understands the assignment. He, at least verbally, he understands the assignment, and also with the swing in recruiting in the short period of time that he's been with Auburn, he understands that assignment. Signing about 6 or 7 offensive linemen, either in high school, coming out of high school, or coming from the transfer portal to add that quality depth that Auburn would definitely need to face some of the programs that they're going to have to face. You talk about a situation where LSU at points had a chance to make some noise in the college football playoff. Alabama, obviously, always in that mix. Georgia, obviously, in that mix for sure. And Tennessee, who Auburn will have to play at some point in Hugh Freeze's tenure, will be a factor. And then you look at the fact that, you got to look ahead at the fact that Auburn is going to be, the SEC is going to be welcoming Oklahoma and Texas to the conference. So getting ahead of recruiting is going to be very crucial for the Auburn Tigers, especially. And it starts with not necessarily, you want to end strong with this recruiting class. But he did mention in a lot of interviews that the 24-25 recruiting class, especially with having the transfer portal and junior college transfers in your back pocket, will be a big thing for the Auburn Tigers. So we really want to look at tomorrow. Tomorrow sets the stage for Auburn. And then you look at the fact that on Junior Day, Hugh Freeze had like 32 players, a lot of them 4 stars, a lot of them 5 stars, even though they've committed to other institutions. They came to Auburn. They had interest, and maybe he'll be able to get to snag maybe, a handful of those to add some depth to combat this schedule that's, has Cal on the schedule, got Texas A&M, Alabama, Georgia, a very tough stretch down on the back end. So we'll have to see how this goes. Again, this is Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast talking Auburn football. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger.
Well, I wish I had Eku and Hall back. I didn't get there early enough to try to beg them. I would have pleaded with them to stay with us a little longer if possible. But, obviously I didn't get to coach them, so can't take a ton of credit for them. But the Auburn program can, and I think that's what the message is. For years, Auburn has put guys in the NFL, and even with the lack of Auburn-type success the last few years is still the case. And so, look, they've been incredible coming around the building and just incredible human beings and great football players, and so thrilled that we can celebrate a little bit with them today.
Hugh, now have you been in for a couple of months now, since December? What have you noticed is with the program and where things are going?
Well, it's really those of you who know me, I know I say it just like I see it. I don't have a good barometer right now because all I've done is just been on the road recruiting. Literally yesterday was the first day that I've really just been in the office, and I'm so anxious to get to know our team and our kids and our players, and who the leaders are going to be and who can we depend on. And obviously we're expecting a new standard, and to do that it takes a lot of work, and we're anxious to get in. And heck, our offense and defensive staffs are new. We haven't even installed offenses or defenses yet. That February is usually a time that you can kind of breathe a little bit, but not this year for us. We've got to grind because spring ball starts the 27th. So ask me that after March, and I'll know a lot more about who we really are, I think.
What have you enjoyed or maybe gotten your feet back wet in the SEC recruiting? I mean, it's getting back into the swing of things.
Well, it makes you doubt whether or not you did the right thing some days. Liberty was such an awesome place, and probably could have stayed there and won 8 to 10 games every year and not had to compete against the type of recruiting that you have to here. But, I think all of us are made a certain way where, give me that shot and let us see what we can do. And I think in a short amount of time we improved ourselves. It's hard to say that you close the gap how much on those guys that are playing for national championships or in the playoffs and all of that. In just the 2.5 weeks we had in the first class, I really believe the 24 and 25 class will determine our success or not. And so we've got to hustle and just we got to nail those 2 classes with the right type of players and individuals that fit our culture.
I see you have the On the Victory shirt on. Yeah. Just walk me through what it's been like building a relationship with those guys and how that helps in recruiting.
Well, it's a different day and time, and certainly it is what it is. We can talk about all the issues with it or problems, but I've never been one that believed that complaining helped anything, and I still don't have a complete grasp of everything with that. I'm really excited to have a full year just to recruit families and young men, and hopefully they are choosing Auburn for the right reasons. But there's no question that our current players, when it comes to dealing with the things that they can create value for themselves by playing the college football game, we're thankful that we have a partnership with our collective and On the Victory to help do that.
And then from there, in recruiting, you guys, you said you were looking for a quarterback, didn't sign one yet. What is that process like going into spring, and how you feel about your quarterback room that you know so far?
Yeah, well, I don't know exactly. I can't remember exactly saying it like that. I think we're always open to improve every room that's in our building. But I'm excited to work with the current quarterback room that we have. I don't know. I believe that we've had success everywhere I've been with quarterback play. And when I watched the tapes from last year, I'm not sure that any quarterback they had a fair chance sometimes. They didn't get protected very well, and that starts up front. How accurately they can be throwing the football, we'll know in spring, and then we'll kind of go from there. But I'm excited to work with the guys we have, whether it's Robbie or TJ or Holden or Hank will come in the summer, and so excited to work with those guys first and kind of see where we are.
What have conversations been like with TJ and Robbie?
Very honest. That this room's got to change. It's got to grow up. It's got to, and I don't mean that as a personal attack on anyone. Just to be the quarterback of an SEC program, it's a big responsibility and it takes a lot. And so we've been very honest with one another, and I'm pleased with what I'm hearing from our strength coaches about the way they're working, and anxious to get into some ball soon.
One thing in particular, you guys signed a lot of guys on the offensive line. You mentioned the offensive line. How do you feel like that's potentially improving what you guys done there?
Well, I mean, the first thing I saw when I saw the current roster was the lack of depth in the offensive line, and it's rare that you come in. I like to carry 16 offensive linemen, and they had 7 on scholarship when I arrived, and signing 9 in one class is almost impossible. So I think we did as good as we could. We got 8 at mid-year, which was huge, and obviously we still look for one more in the second quarter period to get to our number. But we're excited the ones we did get. I think they improved us.
I guess, Hugh, you talked about those 3 offensive linemen you got in the portal. How important are guys who have experience, particularly in that position, to sort of bridge that gap, like you're talking about, get to the numbers?
Yeah, I have a certain belief in roster and how to build a roster, and I thought we got a really good mixture of young kids that we signed, high school guys, some that are mid-year enrollees, and then obviously the the portal guys that have played a lot of football, you're depending on them to play. And no one gets a starting job, but you don't recruit those guys expecting them to sit around for sure.
How different is it now, kind of shaping the roster the way you want to versus when you took over at Ole Miss or took over at Liberty?
Yeah, I mean it's similar to the Ole Miss days. I think it wasn't quite as depleted in the big men, the O-line, D-line spots as this one was for whatever reason, but I think you can recruit to Auburn, and I've seen it just in our junior days in January. I mean, we've had like 32 4- and 5-star guys that come to campus. Unfortunately, some of them are committed elsewhere, but they're still coming. Yeah. So we got a fighting chance to at least get in the game with them. But quarterback-wise, it was very similar to when I went to Ole Miss because I wasn't sure that they had one there either. Ended up taking Bo Wallace, obviously, and that was probably the most important recruit I had in all my years. I didn't say he's not the best overall player in people's eyes, but, man, if we didn't get him, there's no chance we go to that bowl in year one. And so I think it's very similar.
Second half against Alabama 14.
It was really good second half in Alabama 14. And, Andy, I need to get on the program.
We can do that.
What the heck?
I can draw it up.
Well, I'm in on that.
Coach, when you really get it, I know you've been in the SEC, you're familiar with the conference, but being at Auburn and your two biggest rivals are who they are.
They are.
What is that kind of?
Well, it's not for the faint of heart. I think it takes someone that's a little wired, a little different probably, and a bit crazy to want to undertake, what's going on right now in the landscape with Georgia and Alabama right up the road doing so incredibly well. But I've just always kind of relished, I don't know, those opportunities to play against the gold standard of college football. And Alabama's been there for years. Georgia's currently arguably it or right there with them. And I don't know, I love measuring myself and our staff and our players in those games, and it's something that I think our kids will relish the opportunity to compete against those guys. It's not just them. I mean, we forget LSU and Florida and A&M and the rest of them.
Yeah, I know it's early in winter workouts. Just what have you heard about just kind of how the guys are doing just early on getting back in the swing of things?
Coach Dom, who has been with me for years now, who I think is the best, we have ways to go.